Hey, it's Paulo Brantz with This Week in Rates. I hope you had a wonderful weekend. In fact, we have some great news as it comes to interest rates. We're going to talk about what happened last week. We're going to talk about what's going on this week. And speaking of last week we touched the lowest rates since we've seen since April 7th of this year. And in fact, if you go back one full year, we've only had a period where rates were lower than they are now. But I want to warn you about something. When we lost that rate, meaning when rates were at the lowest they went back up, it literally happened overnight. So this is something you're not going to get a warning on. So if you're out there thinking about refinancing or when the right time is, that's when you need to get your target rate. A target rate is simply a rate that if you missed, you would be sad you missed. We all want the lowest interest rate, but the market doesn't say, hey, Paul, this is the lowest interest rate. Now is the time to lock. It just shoots back up. So let's make sure we get your target rate up. So speaking of rates, let's go ahead and bring them on up here. And in fact, they're a little bit small here. So I'm going to see if I can get me out of here on a purchase. Now, these are with 1 point. These are amazing rates. 5.875 for a VA, 5.625 for FHA. Conventional at 6.125, a jumbo at 6%. Now, these are all with 1 point, assuming you have great credit scores. Now, remember, if your credit score is lower or down payments less or higher, the rates are going to change. This is just a trend of where rates are headed. Now, if you're thinking of refinancing, let's take a look at what those rates look like. If on a VA, you're looking at 6%, FHA 5.875, conventional 6.5, jumbo 6.5. Now, again, these are all rates with no points, different strategies, right? Speaking of strategies, now we're seeing sellers contribute to closing costs and all that stuff. You want to take advantage of this. This is probably going to be the best time to buy as rates are heading lower because we're in that limbo, right? Buyers are not yet kept up to date that rates are lower, so they're still waiting perhaps. This is a great time to catch a lower rate and get the seller to pay for it. Let's go ahead and take a look at what happened last week. Lawrence Young, a NAR chief economist, came out and said, hey, the record high medium home price highlights how Americans' wealth continues to grow, benefit for homeownership over the last 5 years on average. And this is probably a little bit higher for us here in the Bay Area, in California, but on average, their net wealth has increased 140,000. If you don't have our HomeBot and making sure and tracking your equity growth, reach out to me. I'd love to sign you up. It's free. It's a way for you to monitor your equity base, and it gives you a lot of great tips on rates and all that stuff. You're absolutely going to love it. One thing that we have not talked about in this little show we have here is One Beautiful Bill Act is a win in part for homeowners. Now, remember, this is not political. We're just talking about interest rates and how this could impact you as a potential buyer, as a home buyer. The big one is going to be the SALT credit temporarily quadrupled. What is the SALT tax? That's a great question. It's your state, local, and property tax bill. Right now, you are limited at about $10,000 for all of those things. And a lot of you out there are paying property taxes at a lot higher than $10,000. And now you're going to get a benefit from it. So you're going to see your taxes decrease this year as a result of at least that SALT portion of this bill here. So it's a big win for homeowners. Last week, we saw the jobs report come in. Remember, we've talked about this before. The feds are very focused on unemployment. And as we start seeing unemployment continue to increase or go back up to 4.2%, this is going to make the feds really choose between waiting, which I really hope they don't, or start cutting short-term interest rates. And that's going to help you as home buyers. It's going to help you as homeowners. It's going to be really good for you. All right, so this week, let's take a look here. We have Consumer Price Index coming out. The one on Thursday is another market mover, Producer Price Index, initial jobless claims. These are things, of course, that could definitely move this market. And if anything happens, I'm going to reach out to you, keep you updated. If we're not connected on social media, we should. We're always keeping people update on interest rates. And last and certainly not least, if we're not working together, we should. If you have a dream of buying a home, but you're not quite ready to take an application, pull your credit, that's okay. We have what's called a hopes and dreams conversation, where all we're going to do is we're not going to pull your credit. We're not going to do any of that. It's going to be me and you and your family taking advantage of my 20 years of experience in this industry. Let us help you put a plan in place that's going to help you save money and eventually get your keys handed to you for your first home or second home or third home, or if you want to refinance, save money. So there's a QR code. Look forward to hearing from you. If you need me, let me know. Other than that, have a wonderful week. And that's it. Paul.